chapter 3 of my day 2 adventure. In chapter 3, we were gonna go on a cruise, on a boat cruise, and it's called African Queen. What's your name?
Joe.
Joe.
Yes.
Are you joking? You have my name? Can you imagine? This guy shares my name.
Yeah.
Joe, what's the name of your boat?
African Queen.
African Queen.
Yes.
How far are you taking us today?
It's about 3.5 kilometers.
3.5 kilometers.
Yes.
And we're gonna be eating here? We're gonna have dinner or what?
No,
or lunch?
We just have we save some light
Some light stuff.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. So we're still gonna have dinner much later. Now, once we were pulling out to get on our journey, I saw my editor actually talking to a lady who is supposed to be a medical doctor and then a photographer at the same time.
Hello,
Denise,
Zambia.
what do you do?
I'm a doctor, and I'm an artist as well, and a photographer
She's a doctor, and look, she's a photographer.
as well.
This
Doctor?
woman doesn't want to stay in her office,
No.
and she's diving into our room. I'm bringing you into the movie world.
Oh yeah. So
You better get ready.
thank you so much. Nice to meet everybody.
And then we got on our way. Okay, so when we got on our way, not long after we pulled off, we now found out that there was a little young crocodile on the side. And so we took a picture of it. Now, before we left and pulled off, they already told us that the water we were running on was the biggest or the fullest part of the Zambezi River. If you remember when I was having my chapter 2 of day 1, we were looking at the Zambezi River, pouring into the falls. But at the time, the place that I was showing you then had a lot of rocks there. It was not as full as this place where we are now going to have our cruise. So we were having our cruise on the fullest part of the Zambezi River, and you had this massive stretch of an island overlooking the river, which they told us had never been inhabited and will never be inhabited, just left there for nature. Whatever animal feels like going to build a home there, they can do it. No human being is allowed to live there. And keep in mind, I had a tour or a cruise like this in Dubai. And I was told clearly that the water we ran on was artificial. But here am I in Livingston having the same cruise, and the water is natural. And the air was as fresh as anything. It was so organic, serene, and peaceful. I have no words to explain what the feeling was like. So every time we moved and the boat saw that we had spotted an animal, it would stop for us to take a good picture. So we saw that little crocodile and we left and went after taking pictures. And not long after that, we now saw another bigger crocodile just resting, having fresh air by the bank of the river. Okay? And so we all took pictures and stuff like that, especially the lady, Denise, who is a photographer, and that was actually why she bought it, because she wanted to take pictures of some of the animals. And the guys told us that as we were going on the journey, that we should look out for hippos, look out for crocodiles, and probably some elephants. These were animals, they said that the hippos actually called Zambezi River their home. So everywhere you turned on the Zambezi River, hippos are everywhere. So they were almost 100% sure that we were going to see a lot of hippos. And that was the one that I was more interested in. But what we had seen so far were just crocodiles. So as we're going, my eyes were just going everywhere. I was just enjoying myself, and we're going to have some light meals. So we're just taking our light meals and having fun. And before you know it, boom, our first hippo sighting. Our first hippo sighting was very brief. We first saw the body in the water, and then we were just praying that they should bring up their heads, and before you know it, pam, they popped up their heads, and then they did their ears like this, and everybody was like, yeah, So, and that was very close. That was why we loved it. So we took pictures, videos, and stuff like that, and then they went into the water, came up again, but they never showed us even all of their heads. It's sort of their ears and their eyes that they would pop up above the water, and then they would dive in again. And so when we were done taking all those pictures, we took off. But then as we were going, something very amazing happened. and I had never seen this kind of sight before. We came to a place where we saw about 5 hippos, a family of 5. And so the guys took their time to explain to us the nature of the animals and stuff like that, but we saw the 5 of them. I'm telling you, you should see what happened to everyone on the boat. The boat just quietly went close and stopped, and we were just here overlooking the hippos. One of them even opened the mouth. I had never, ever in my life been that close to a hippo. Never. And we took all kinds of pictures. It was so moving. It was so touching. Just their heads. You know, the first ones we saw showed us only their ears and their eyes. These ones now showed us their heads. They didn't show us their bodies, only their heads. But we stood there for a very long time, just enjoying the fact that they were able to bring up their entire heads above the water and give us all those beautiful, majestic displays, you know. And we stood there for a while. And after a while, when we're done taking all the pictures and videos and stuff, and there were some other boats coming close doing the same thing, we just took off. When we took off, I think it was me. I was the first person who sighted something way ahead of us. It was just massive creature that I saw on the water. All the full body out on top of the water, feeding. And I said, is that not a hippo? Everybody looked at me. Where? I said, look. And we screamed, my goodness, it was a hippo. The whole body out, only the feet in the water. The whole body, the head and everything out above the water. And it was feeding. And our boat raced quietly to that place and then parked. And I saw so many other boats coming close because this was rare. To see a hippo with all of its body out like that, we were amazed. I did all kinds of videos just to say, look, I was already screaming that I saw hippos opening their mouth for us, showing us their head. Started from the ear and the eye, now went to the head, and then now come to the full body, as if it was a progression of thing. And so for me, that was a high point for me on that cruise. That's a hippo. I have seen hippos in Malawi, but never been this close to one. Look at that massive stuff down it, feeding. These are stuff. This is why we all need to be vegetarians, huh? This is all they eat. And they just
eat all day.
They eat and they poop.
They
That's all they do. They eat and they
And the
poop.
vegetables are still making
Yeah,
them
they poop.
overweight.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Oh, that's exactly it.
overweight.
Good point.
the moment we saw that, I didn't even feel like I wanted to see anything again. And lo and behold, shortly after we saw that, our boat went a little further and then made a U-turn. And we started going back the way we came. Now, as we're going back the way we came, something amazing happened, you know? We looked on the other side of the bank of the river, on the left side as we're going back. We saw this massive herd of buffaloes. Plenty, like it was almost like what you would see on National Geographic Channel. There were so many, they were scattered everywhere that we didn't even think they were buffaloes. We had to zoom the camera and then went a little close and found out that these were buffaloes scattered everywhere. And these buffaloes are rare. You don't see them anyhow. And you find out because eventually we had to take a ride into that same park where they were the next day, and we never saw even one. So this sighting was so rare, and so it was such a privilege. And we took all the pictures we needed to take, did videos and everything, and everybody was like, wow, what a tour. And even the people on the boat were like, wow, you guys are really lucky. You're seeing too many things that many people don't see when they come on this cruise. And I'm like, yeah, it's been happening to us on this trip. You know, so we saw it, we were so happy, and as we're going back, I just took the time out. I spread like I was on Titanic, you know, just like Leonardo DiCaprio. In fact, one of the women there was even asking me, are you now Leonardo DiCaprio? And I was just there. I was taken by the beauty, by the fresh air, by the serenity, by the peace. I just spread my arms and I felt like, my gosh, Africa, you're beautiful. It was just a way of just saying to myself, I am proud to come from this continent. In 1,000 lifetimes, I would still want to come from Africa. And while I was sitting down there, it turned out that all the people on the boat actually recognized me. They all know me. And now they started coming one by one. In fact, one of them, while my editor was videoing me sitting down and sipping my drink, he just showed up and he was just telling me about the movies he has watched. He said he's watched almost all my movies. He mentioned Billionaires Club.
I did that movie almost 15 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, by that time we were.
Yeah, it was dope.
Yeah, you didn't change it. I think you've just gained a bit. Yeah,
Just gained a
like
little
for you
bit.
remember where the cat was just the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was almost like the same.
Yeah.
I think almost everything. Yeah, just gained it.
They started taking pictures and stuff like that. I'm telling you, I don't know, but I've been an actor for more than 20 years, but I had never received that kind of fan reaction in my life. It was so moving in Zambia. Everywhere I turned, people were calling me by name. And most people too. It wasn't just the movies. Most of them, a lot of them, maybe not most, but a lot of them were people who follow me on YouTube. So many, like too many of them. You know, before we went to Livingston, I had done something that I know I do very well, but I normally don't like doing it. But because the person involved was like a sister to me, I decided to do it. I compared for an event, and I did it with the former Miss Zambia, okay, Michi. And at the event, of course, it was amazing as usual. At the event, I took pictures until I almost got tired of standing on my feet. People were telling me that they were told I was in Zambia. They left their brothers and sisters' weddings and came to meet me. One woman told me, said, my sister is wedding right now. But when they told me, she said she told them to take a picture and send to her. They took a picture of me, sent it to her. She abandoned the sister who was wedding and ran to the venue to come and meet with me. They took pictures, had videos. The whole place, every single person that came for the event, they were blown away. They said they couldn't believe it. Coming from different places just to come and take pictures. This is what Zambia did to me. So when we were done with that, we finally came to a stop and our journey was over and we were treated to a beautiful music. And then we hopped into our bus and headed off to our hotel. Then this was supposed to be the end of the chapter 3 of my day 2, but it wasn't. Guess what? We had one more treat that messed me up for the day. It was supposed to be the dinner because we didn't have dinner on the boat. We only had light meals. So our dinner was supposed to be a special kind of dinner. They call it there's a name they call it, but it's a traditional African dinner. And so everything about it speaks of the tradition of the people. So when we came, as we were coming into the arena where we're supposed to have the dinner, cultural dancers. And then after the cultural dances, there were some girls that would come out and then dress you in this wrapper, in this African traditional wrapper. They would tie it across, just the way we do it in our movies in Nigeria, in Igbo land and all the places. They tie the wrapper on you. After tying the wrapper, you will now go and sit down to a folk tale. Remember folk tales? Usually in the days when we're growing up back in the days, our parents or grandmothers and grandfathers would just put some bonfire and everybody would sit around it in the village and they will start listening to folk tales. Nigerians will remember Tales by Moonlight, which they have stopped now, was a fantastic show on TV. So many people grew up with Tales by Moonlight. So this was more like the kind of stuff that you do. You come, and when you get dressed in that stuff, you sit down around the bonfire, and this guy, this very funny guy, will sit down and tell us stories, give us all these folk tales.
When I say Mukaninga, your response should be Kalanganti.
Oh.
Yes.
What?
When I say Mukaninga, your response should be Kalanganti.
Kalanganti.
Yes.
Yes.
Because when I say Mukaninga, I am asking if you are ready to listen to a story. And when you say Kalanganti, it means you are much ready for the story.
Okay.
Now let's try it. Mukaninga
Kalanganti.
Yes. Back in the days, there was a couple who had one son. These people lived a good life, but unfortunately, as the days went on, the woman passed away.
And then we'll listen to it. He even made us to sing with him. He would teach us the song, and we would sing it with him.
Mezi, mezi, koza tuwe busy.
Chilankonda.
Mezi, mezi, koza tuwe busy.
Chilankonda.
Kumenso gonse, mbuli chali vama.
Chilankonda.
Kumenso gonse, mbuli chali vama.
Chilankonda.
Chilankonda.
And so when we were done with all of that, we now proceeded to have our dinner proper. Now, when we went to have the dinner proper, two things stood out for me. Yeah? Now, there were a lot of traditional meals, but the first thing that stood out for me was not just the dance, because I'd seen it before, but it was beautiful this time around, even more beautiful, but the masquerade that showed up. As soon as I saw masquerade, I called my editor and said, look, can you see? You see what I'm telling you people, that Africa, we are the same. We just want people. The same masquerade you see everywhere in Nigeria, in Eastern Nigeria. Look at the masquerade also in Zambia.
We have a lot of this in Nigeria. Masquerade in Zambia. When I tell you that Africa is the same, you think I'm joking. We are just one people.
And then the next thing that happened to me was when I went to, because it was a buffet, so when I went to go and get my food, I was told what they had on display. They said this one is a game. In other words, they're talking about Impala and all those things. And this one is this is that. And then this one is crocodile. And I said, is what? He said, crocodile. Immediately I called my editor. I said, come, did you know that they have crocodile here? You want to eat? He said, yeah. I said, I want to eat the crocodile, okay? The last time I ate a crocodile was when I was a baby. I enjoyed it. It almost tasted like fish. And this time around, I took it. I thought I was going to have the same taste. I didn't quite get the same taste, but it was very nice. It felt like something that someone who is on diet, who is watching their weight and stuff, would love to eat. It felt more like something for people who are dietitians, And I enjoyed it, but I only ate maybe 1/4 of it, and I left the rest. But that was it. So I ate the crocodile meat, and I saw the masquerade, and had very amazing experience at the dinner that we had. And that right there brought my chapter 3 of day 2 to a very mesmerizing, enticing end. And that was it. From there, we headed to our hotel to go and get ready for the day 3. What I did on day 3 is something that up to today, I have a lot of friends who have refused to watch the video of what I did. You know, when you come to a place and you see your life flashing in front of you, that's what I went to go and challenge my God on day 3. And I can't wait for you to see what I did, where I walked with lions.